everybody, welcome to the garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton is right there behind the camera. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Something that might appeal to you, Pete.
What's that?
The words that Christopherson wants to have on his tombstone. He sadly died. He was 88.
Yes.
Tell the truth. Now let me get it right. Tell the truth. Sing with passion. Work with laughter. Love with heart. Because that's all that matters in the end.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I thought so. But he was a poet, you know. That was his real calling in life.
It was brilliant. Yeah.
Originally, he wanted to have the words of Leonard Cohen, Bird on a Wire. You know, the old, what was the album? The
yes.
Old Blue Raincoat album, I think it was.
That was Jennifer Warren's, yes.
Yeah, right.
But a bird on a
Bird
wire.
on a wire. Like a bird on the wire, like a drunk at a midnight choir.
Yes.
I've tried in my way to be free.
That's it, yes.
Yeah. That's what he wanted, but he changed his mind.
Okay.
Fantastic talent, poet, valet, Christopherson. And likewise to the lovely Fiona MacDonald, on television forever, along with her sister Jackie. Hey, it's Saturday and all of that. Only in her 60s, she died of motor neuron disease. Went on a round the world, no, it wasn't, it was a round Australia trip to raise money to fight motor neuron disease, from which she was suffering. That was the last time I had the joy, and it was a joy too, to talk to her. She was lovely. She really was. We will miss you, my darling. Less than 30 sleeps to the Christmas pageant. Big day here in Adelaide. It's a good idea as we move it's probably a bit late, to be quite honest with you. We move the clocks ahead for daylight saving. In fact, we had Professor Leon Lack on the Friday show talking about daylight saving and what it does to our, our biorhythms and our centre of gravity, or whatever the hell it is. I just wish they'd leave the damn clocks alone. I really do. But it's a good opportunity to remind you, when you do that, put the clocks forward, to check the batteries in your smoke detectors. And with more and more of these wretched lithium-ion batteries in everything, you can't be too careful. And they are a real clear and present danger. There seems to be some surprise that the Iranian ambassador to Australia would publish several tweets in support of Hezbollah. Really? Really? Hezbollah, an Iranian invention. They own it, they support it, they arm it, they fund it. Hezbollah is theirs. Is our government trying to pretend they didn't know that? If you're offended by his comments in support of terrorism, you should remove the entire Iranian embassy from Australia, persona non grata, kick the lot out. Oh, couldn't do that. That would offend those very important Muslim seats in Western Sydney. A handful of Labor Party seats in Western Sydney, which are almost a different country. True. Which, in my opinion, I mean, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I don't think that should ever have been allowed to happen. Wouldn't have been allowed in any other part of the world, particularly any other Islamic part of the world. It's where multiculturalism ceases to work. Someone should have seen this coming and stopped it. Come to Australia, but you must assimilate, integrate, be part of our great Australian family. Welcome. These people know that Westerners or Christians couldn't go to Islamic countries and superimpose a different culture or religion. It just wouldn't be tolerated, and it would be dealt with. And I would support their right to protect their culture, which in Islamic countries is not negotiable and perfectly reasonable. I don't know what you think, but you are very welcome to call me on Friday, 9 to 12, round the dining room table, live streaming, jeremycordeaux.com. And that program, along with this program, brought to you with the very best wishes of these wonderful people. Jim Elder's Fine Art Gallery, and I'll tell you something of that probably tomorrow. And today I'll have something to say to you about the Rising Sun Inn a little bit later on, another one of our wonderful sponsors. But you can ring us on Friday if you'd like to on any subject, 0491 65 68 60. 0491 65 68 60. But I will remind you several times during the show of that number. The Prime Minister said of these pro-Palestinian demonstrations yesterday, Monday the 7th, think carefully, he was saying this to the demonstrators, think carefully whether or not your cause will be advanced by these demonstrations. A very good and very pointed comment, sir. I agree. A lot is said of the so-called two-state solution as the ultimate answer to Middle Eastern tensions. 1,000 years before Islam, this part of the Middle East was called Judea. Judea, the land of the Jews. There was no Palestine. That was a recent invention by Yasser Arafat's PLO, somewhere in the late 80s, I think it was. Where does their claim for a chunk of this land actually come from? There's this fanciful notion that the Palestinians would be prepared to live peacefully beside the Jewish state, when they have stated time and time again that Israel has no right to exist. Now, would you want to live next door to somebody who didn't want you to exist? Even within the world of Islam, there is a lot of intolerance, even hatred. The Sunnis don't get on with the Shiites, who don't like the Druze. No one seems to get on with the Hanafis. And you saw this played out big time during the Lebanese Civil War, which raged from 1975 to 1992. Do you remember that? Well, most of the journalists who report on such stuff, of course, wouldn't. They weren't born. These various tribes or brands of Islam fought themselves to a standstill. What makes anyone think that Gazans or Hamas or Hezbollah, Palestinians, call them what you like, would settle down and live peacefully? Yesterday, we remembered that terrible day 12 months ago when Hamas invaded Israel, killing 1,200 innocent people, women, children, and babies included. What did Hamas think would be the consequences of that action? You do not take a knife to a gunfight. Israel is a nuclear power. They have the bomb. Iran wants the bomb. But in the meantime, they turn their proxies loose to do their dirty work, take the blows. And make no mistake, Iran is pulling the strings. I knew exactly what would happen. These proxies are being used. It doesn't excuse them, of course, but there it is. There's a word game going on, you might have noticed. While people are dying, we're talking about words like response. You know, yes, you can defend yourself, but I'm not quite so sure about responding. Proportional response. Restraint is another word that they want to put around. I think, in all honesty, the exploding pages and walkie-talkies showed great restraint. It was response with surgical precision, accuracy. If you want to take on Israel, provoke a super smart nation like that, like Israel, you must be nuts But if you do, you deserve what you get. I'm sorry. A lot is made of the civilian casualties, of which sadly there are many. But when you put your tunnels under schools and hospitals and you put missile launchers in suburban homes, use women and children to carry explosive devices, vests, suicide bombers, I mean, that we have people in Australia who not only support this kind of behaviour, justify this kind of behaviour, but are prepared to do so publicly and loudly. To me, it is not what they're waving or wearing, it is what's in their hearts. Another pointer as to the failure, or at least the dangers, of multiculturalism. If we are going to have it, multiculturalism must be more selective. Unless your intention is to destroy our culture, of course, could be. You see, by the time we know what Labor's real agenda is, with this fixation with multiculturalism, it might well be too late. The Free Palestine Coalition, there were lots of different groups calling themselves different things, demonstrating on Sunday and Monday yesterday in most cities in Australia, in close proximity, by the way, to many of our sacred sites. You know, the cenotaph, the shrine of remembrance, the war memorials. No accident, I'm sure. Police moved in to stop similar demonstrations in Sydney, but they came to some compromise with the various groups. And we're recording this, our Tuesday and Wednesday shows, on Monday afternoon, so Pete and I don't really know or can't comment on the total fallout of these activities, which I really think were disgraceful, on the anniversary of the massacre of 1,200 Jews to be celebrated in this fashion is appalling. Appalling. In New South Wales, you have to have a permit to hold a demonstration. Not so elsewhere. I would suggest a protest tax. That might slow them down. Well, you know, tax it, you'll get less of it. Subsidise it, you'll get more of it. Here in Adelaide, the protest looked as if it had government blessing. I can't say that for sure. I could be wrong. But the truth is that the Palestinians started this whole mess. It's their fault. It's as simple as this. October 7 is the anniversary of an unprovoked terrorist attack. A bit like the unprovoked attack on Pearl Harbor, which in 1941 cost 2,000 lives and started World War II, which resulted in the dropping of the atomic bombs, which literally killed hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians. Be very careful what you start. After being warned repeatedly, Germany invaded Poland. Germany started bombing London. They were first in September of 1940. Later, resulting in the complete devastation, destruction, annihilation of many German cities, but most notably Dresden, by the RAF, with colossal loss of civilian life. Again, I say, be careful what you start. Most things are cause and effect. It's usually the innocent, however, who pay the price. Which leads me to say to you, be very careful who you elect and who you follow. Now remember the wonderful Rising Sun Inn at 60 Bridge Street at Kensington? Grant is there, he'll take your booking, wonderful menu, fantastic wine list, great chef, fantastic atmosphere, warm and cosy. Although it's heading into spring, I don't think we'll need the open fire quite so often these days. But you'll love it. They'll make you feel very welcome. It will become one of your most favourite places for a small gathering or an intimate dinner or lunch for two, or a product launch, or whatever it is that requires a venue of style and good taste. And atmosphere too. 8333 072. 8. If you're out of town, you've got to put no 8 in front. Maybe you're coming to Adelaide. 08 8333 072. Or check it in the phone book. It really is that simple. The NDIS review of what was being paid for by taxpayers has taken years to prepare. But now we have it. We have the definitive list of what the NDIS will cover and what it won't. Came into effect last Thursday. Why it took 10 years to make up and publish this list, I have no idea. I would take a bet it might be incompetence. Surely this list should have been the starting point. The $42 billion NDIS growing at, oh, they promise they'll keep it to 8% a year. I'll bet. It was set up to be rorted, ladies and gentlemen. Sex workers, overseas holidays. But as the Minister Bill Shorten explained, from now on, clairvoyance, cuddle therapy and wilderness therapy, tarot card reading, what else was there? Hypnotherapy. I love Ben Fordham went through all of this on his breakfast program on 2GB the other day. It was hilarious. Wedding receptions and weddings, honeymoons, along with pet therapy, no longer included. Yes, Minister. And there is a 12-month period of grace. Oh, thank you. Thank you. What? What? 12 months to understand the new rules? So this nonsense and rorting goes on for another 12 months. How ridiculous. Why weren't these things included, or as you've put it, excluded in the first place? The Minister, Bill Shorten, on Channel 9 was asked the hard questions. You, sir, are a $42 billion disgrace. I'm sorry. Fraud and corruption. And he said, his own words, the NDIS is in the hands of criminals. His words. You, sir, are the Minister. How did that happen? If I'd been the interviewer, that's what I would have asked. How could you have possibly presided over a disaster like the NDIS at public expense? And why fiddle with it now? Close it down. Why not means test it? Why wasn't it means tested? If somebody can look after himself or herself, why should the taxpayer? Why is there no such scheme as the NDIS anywhere else in the world? Why did it take 10 years to tell people what the scheme would cover? Why would anyone think that goat therapy, online dating, a wedding or a honeymoon could just be put on a list for the taxpayer to pay? And the very fact that these extraordinary items are on Bill Shorten's list tells me that people have been claiming them, and yes, we have been paying them. Why wouldn't the Minister just simply say, in the first place, 10 years ago, what is permitted? Forget about what is not. What is permitted? Instead of this huge list of things that are not permitted. Again, I say, a disgrace. Some birthdays? Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. A wedding anniversary. The party for which I hope is not being chalked up to the taxpayer, but you never know. I wonder if that's on the list, anniversary parties. I'll have to check. It's October 8, 1945, believe it or not. The microwave oven was patented by an American inventor, a guy called Percy Spencer. But the thing that gets me is 1945. Wow, Pete?
Well, it took a long while to get
Yeah.
into the...
If he was waiting for payday, I don't think he made it. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Paul Hogan, Australian actor, Crocodile Dundee, Lightning Jack, born Lightning Ridge in New South Wales. He was born 1939. Where is he now?
I'm not sure. He's still alive, but...
Is he still dodging the tax man?
I think it's all sorted out.
Oh, God, I hope so. It went on for years. 1998, US House of Representatives voted to impeach Bill Clinton on charges of lying about his affair with Monica Lewinsky. So it wasn't that he had an affair, it was that he lied about it. So if he just said, yes, okay, folks, you got me, it would have been all right. I don't know. The Second 100 Years, which was a silent short film released starring Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. And it was the very first Laurel and Hardy movie with them appearing as a team on this day in 1927. And on the same day, years later, 1942, Abbott and Costello launched their weekly radio show. Gee, they were funny as well. And of course, yesterday, I don't know where you are in the world, the time zones and whatnot, we again think about those 1,200 Israelis, innocents who died. And of course the people in the Gaza Strip who probably had no part of any of this, were just caught up in the whole mess. Matt Damon, American actor, Good Will Hunting, The Ocean's Trilogy, Bourne Cambridge, Massachusetts, 1970, on this very day. Apple Records released John Lennon's second solo album called Imagine in the UK. Tops the charts in the US, the UK, Australia and 3 other countries on this day, 1971. Sigourney Weaver, American actress, Alien, Ghostbusters, Working Girl, born Manhattan, 1949 on this day. British Leyland starts selling the Mini Metro. What does the Mini Metro look like? They took the Mini. The Mini was a great idea because you got the Mini, which was the standard Mini, and that was fine. Then they had the Mini Cooper, and that was terrific. They started to come up with all these variations. Mind you, the Moke wasn't bad. Wasn't a Jeep, mind you, but it was good.
It was cute.
Yeah, very cute. Yeah. But that was 1980. Juan Perón, Argentinian military officer, president of Argentina, 1895 he was born, died 1974. He was in office. He'd been re-elected in 1973, only made 1 year in office, then he died. Ringo Starr passes his driving test. Wacko! That was in 1964. One of our great generals, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've read about him, but he was a fantastic man, a fantastic Australian. John Monash. General John Monash. Australian military general, World War I, the Western Front, dies at the age of just 66. But a great Australian. 1931 was the year. If you remember the day, I hope it's been a very happy one, and if you're celebrating, may the celebrations be absolutely terrific. We'll see you tomorrow with another Court of Public Opinion here from the garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I'll be back. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.